Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, a couple of things if you've never seen a Q&A before. The first thing you need to know is I give you my raw, unfiltered opinion. So, in other words, I've not read these questions beforehand. I'm literally reading them and answering them off the cuff. As I read them, if I think that there's a question that would be better off suited having a video made specifically on that question, I will do that at some point in the future. Finally, you want to make sure that you get these questions sent over to me by Monday at the latest. I typically film these on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Today is Tuesday afternoon. I'm filming it now. Sometimes it's even earlier. So if I miss your question, I'm sorry. Ask it down below and I'll get back to you the next week. And as I say, try to get the questions in, ideally on a Sunday or a Monday. Now, with that being said, there are a metric ton of questions that I've been looking at today. I've got pages of them, so we're going to get into it straight away. I do want to say one more thing. Thank you so much to anybody that's watched a video, responded to a video, subscribed to the Netrix, bought a product, whatever it is. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I do this because of you guys, and I really appreciate every one of you. The Magic TV wouldn't exist without people interacting with it. So thanks very much. With that all being said, let's get straight into this week's Q&A. Nothing went wrong with the questions not loading. So here are the remaining two questions. Thanks again. Right, let's take them one at a time. Question 1. What is the process in how you make a magic routine? Like, what are the steps you go through when coming up with a new routine? It very much depends, to be honest, Yuri. It very much depends on what I'm doing, what I'm working on. A lot of the time these days, I'm working on somebody else's project. So a lot of the time at the moment, I've been given a prop or a thing or a gizmo or a MacGuffin or something. And I've been asked to create routines for it. And so what I'll do is I'll sit there and I'll be like, right, okay, let's have a look at this. And the first thing that I kind of do is I look at it and I go, right, what is this intended to do? What does this do? Right, okay. So if I take this thing and I take what it does and I put it to one side and I put a pin in it for a minute, what else is this capable of doing? And I think that's a really important thing to look at. And the reason is, a lot of creators, when they create a magic trick, they have in mind what they want to do with that trick. They know. So take the new Easy Tones deck by Rich Relish, for example. Obviously, I've been involved in creating routines for the Easy Tones deck. And Rich had a very specific idea in mind as to what he wanted this trick to do. And it does it perfectly. What he wanted to achieve, it does. Which is why he kind of would then go, right, okay, it's done what I need it to do, end of. I like to look at it and go, right, okay, so this is what it was intended to do, and it does that brilliantly. But if we take that out of the equation, what else can this thing do? What else is it capable of? What else can we build into it to make it even better than it already is? It's why I like doing so many projects like the Svengali deck project and the Invisible deck project and the Mirage deck project and all of those, because I love taking something like the Svengali deck and saying, well, okay, everybody uses it the same way. This is the pitch routine that 99% of people do. What else can this do? What else is it capable of? And if you've seen my Svengali project, you'll know that I kind of took it in a lot of different directions. So the first step when I'm working on something like that, I'm working on a project. So at the moment, I've spent the last 2 years working on routines for a Switch wallet, a Z Fold style wallet, because I'm doing a Z Fold sort of project on Z Fold wallets. We're still about a year away from that coming out, but it was the same approach, which is, right, there's this thing, it's a Z Fold wallet. What does everyone use it for? Well, they use it for switching one thing for another. Well, if we take that out of the way, what else could this wallet be used for? And sometimes it's just a case of just kind of going, well, could it do this? Could it do that? Could it do the other? So if you've seen the Svengali project, there's a Triumph on there, for example. It's like, well, you know, you wouldn't think about using a Svengali deck for a Triumph routine, but it works really well as a way of doing Triumph. So what's my process like? The first thing that I do is I look at it and I go, what's it intended to do? Right, okay, so now that we've taken that out of the way, what else can this do? Well, could it do this? Could it do this? Could it do this? No, it can't. Why can't it? What do I need to do to this thing to make it do that? It can't do that. Why can't it do it? Right, it can't do it because of this. But there's no reason why we couldn't make it do this if we included that in it, which again was my kind of the way I looked at the Svengali deck project. A lot of the routines, not all of them, but a percentage of the routines involve writing on the backs of cards. It's like, well, okay, could I have a prediction in the envelope that's there from the very beginning that predicts the position in a deck of cards of a card that someone freely names? No. Well, how could I do that? Well, I could do that by writing on the back of every single card, or writing on the back of writing on the face of every single force card. Well, then that would work. That's not how the Svengali deck's intended to be used, but then that would work. Then, by adding that writing on that card, that means that this is now possible when it wasn't possible before. So I think taking a prop and putting it to one side and saying, right, okay, everything that this is intended to do, we're going to shunt off to one side. Now let's look at what else it can do that the creator didn't intend for it to be done with in the first place. That's what I do when I'm either working on a project or I'm working on somebody else's prop. If I'm working on my own thing, there's always a starting point. And the key thing, the initial thing, is the inspiration. So when I'm working on a new trick of my own, the inspiration typically very much varies. So with Chop, for example, it was, right, okay, I want to do a Chop cup, but I don't want to use a gimmicked cup. I want to use a regular cup. Okay, well, I could use sleight of hand. That would work, wouldn't it, using sleight of hand? I mean, I don't need to use a magnetic cup. I could use sleight of hand. Yeah, but the problem with using sleight of hand is it's not as clean as using a Chop cup. Okay, so how can I have the cleanliness of a Chop cup but use a regular cup? Well, you'd have to use a magnet. Okay, well, how can I use a magnet if it's a regular cup? Well, maybe we could attach the magnet to the cup. Okay, would that work? No, that wouldn't work. Okay, is there something that we could have the magnet in or on that would allow us to magnetize the cup at various different points of the routine and move the magnet around so that it's not just at the bottom but on the sides? Yes, there is. How could I do that? Now, how could I make it look more organic? What object can I build it into so it looks like a natural object? You know, it's kind of that sort of thing. It's going down the route of kind of saying, right, okay, so this is the inspiration, this is the idea, this is what I want to replicate. So you look at Destiny Deal, that's very popular at the moment. A lot of people are picking up Destiny Deal, and I thank every single person that is. Destiny Deal was I wanted to be able to do a very, very clean, any card at any number style routine, but with a regular deck. And I wasn't fussed. And here's the thing, when you're creating a magic trick, there's certain sacrifices that you are willing to make. And you have to decide on what those sacrifices are during the creative process. So what I mean by that is, if you look at the Quantum deck, for example, I have to deal the cards with the Quantum deck. In order for the Quantum deck to work, the magician has to deal the cards. Now, the spectator can name the number. Absolutely 100%. The deck can be put down on the table and not change position, absolutely, but I have to deal the cards, and it's not any card at any number, it's just a card at any number. I was fine with that, absolutely fine with that, in order to achieve the effect I wanted to achieve, which was one card in a blank deck, and it's at the position you named. That's the effect I wanted to achieve. Now, with Destiny Deal, I had certain parameters I wanted to hit. I wanted it to be a shuffled deck. I wanted it to be a borrowed deck if possible. I wanted them to freely name a card, freely name a number. But I wasn't fussed about having the cards put down on the table and not touched. That wasn't an issue of mine, because within the frame and the context of how I wanted that routine to work, I didn't see that as a necessary thing. So that's a sacrifice I was willing to make. So when you're creating a new routine, first of all, you have the inspiration. And then you decide on the parameters that you're going to hit in order to get to that inspiration. And the key thing is coming up with the inspiration, coming up with the effect, and not limiting yourself by method. And then it's only later that you look at the method and you start to go, well, okay, is this possible? No. Right, okay, why is it not possible? It's not possible because of this. Okay, so if I put that to one side, would it then be possible? Well, no, because of this. Okay, so if there's a way that I could, and it kind of just goes along that route. There's a lot more to this, but that's kind of the basic idea. That's the process I go through. If you want me to expand on this with another video, please let me know, but hopefully that kind of gives you a rough idea. Okay, so the next question again is from Yuri, who says, do you have a signed playing card collection? If yes, how many do you think you have? No, I've never had a signed playing card collection. I've signed a lot of cards for other people, but I've never actually collected them myself, although I think it would be a fun thing to do. Ryland has, but I don't know how many he's got. I'd have to ask him. Thanks for all the great stuff you're doing. You're more than welcome. P.S. for the person from MCK Magic asking about comedy club advice, try the book Finding Your Comic Genius from Adam Bloom. He wrote a whole book to help you get started and become a professional. And as a bonus, he's also a close-up magician. Perfect. Thanks for the advice, Yuri. Okay, so the next question is from Archie Cox Magic, who says, hi, Craig, a few questions. Right, question number 1. What do you think of the current Blackpool 2024 lineup? I'm certainly looking forward to Don Chambers and Jack Rhodes. Yeah, Jack Rhodes is going to be brilliant. I think the lineup's great. You probably know I'm good friends with Russ Stevens, Russ Brown, Guy Barrett. I think those guys are amazing. And they let me in on a little sneaky tidbit sometimes. And I know some stuff that's coming up that other people maybe aren't aware of. Blackpool is amazing. Blackpool is absolutely amazing. And I wouldn't want to be in the position that they're in, where every year you have to top the previous year, because every year the production value goes up, the amount of people that come in go, so many things going up. And yeah, I think it's great. I think that I've seen names that haven't been announced yet, and I think that people are going to get very, very excited about some of those names. And yeah, what do I think of the current lineup? I think it's great. I think Blackpool 2024, 2024, it's 2025, isn't it? I don't, yeah, 25. Next year's lineup, 2025. I think that it's going to be epic. I think it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for Blackpool next year. Okay, next question. Why do things like metal bending count as mentalism when really it's more visual magic? I get that it's bending the spoon with your mind, but isn't that like doing an ambitious card and saying you're bringing the card to the top with your mind? Just interested, as I would consider this magic rather than mentalism. I understand where you're coming from, Archie, I really do, and I think there's a couple of reasons for this. I think the first thing is metal bending, the most popular metal bending routine these days is Liquid Metal by Morgan Striebler, especially with Alakazam just getting the rights to Liquid Forks. Everybody is talking about Liquid Metal. And Liquid Metal is very much a flourishy visual metal bending routine. But metal bending never used to be like that. Before, Morgan Striebler and a couple of other people came on the market, metal bending was very much more kind of less flourishy, less visual. It was kind of more of a one single bend and kind of more of a visual thing where you're kind of really doing it with the power of your mind. Not visual as in, like bending all over the place, but it's kind of more of a cerebral thing, I think is the word I'm looking for. I remember seeing John Archer on his very first Alakazam DVD doing a metal bending routine, and it was just one bend and everybody was freaking out over it for good reason. It was a great metal bend. But I think that metal bending has evolved now, and because of Morgan Striebler and a few other people, it's now a lot more visual, and I think because of that a lot of magicians are doing metal bending routines as opposed to it being exclusively for mentalists. I think the other reason is Uri Geller obviously was the person that popularized metal bending. He's the guy that really put metal bending on the map, and he literally would just bend one thing. And he is absolutely a mentalist, and I think a lot of mentalists were trying to capitalize on Uri Geller's success, I would say. So I think there's a couple of things, but I think the main reason is that it's evolved over the years, and I think there's two types of metal bending now. I think a lot of mentalists wouldn't do the liquid metal style routines, whilst a lot of magicians gravitate towards that. I know that as a magician myself, I do liquid metal, and I love liquid metal, and I probably wouldn't do any other type of metal bending routine. I think that's the reason. But I think you can play it as a magic trick and also as mentalism. I think there's certain routines that kind of work for both, and I think this is one of them. But it's a great question. Okay, there's one final question from Archie Cox, who says, I'm looking for a good multiple selections routine. What can you recommend? There's a good one going up on the Netrix. I think it's next week. In fact, when you look at this, it's probably going to be Monday that the multiple selection routine goes up. And it's the one that I've used in the real world for years. It's the one that I've always done. And I love Metalbending. Sorry, I love multiple selection routines. Really do. Always have, always will. And there's a few different versions that I use, a few different versions that I do. But when I'm performing to a big table and there's like 10 people on that table, you believe I better be doing multiple selections. Now, in terms of other sources for multiple selection routines, John Gustafaro has a really good one, and I'm pretty sure he did it on his At the Table lecture for Murphy's Magic. If I'm wrong, people, please let me know in the comments down below, but I'm pretty sure John G had a really great multiple selection routine that he put on his At the Table lecture. It's probably in one of his ebooks as well, maybe in one of his books. God, who was it? Somebody, I can't remember who it is, but somebody from, I want to say Andy Gladwin and Rob James, but I might be wrong. I'm sure it might have just been Rob James. Let's find out, shall we? The best multiple selection routine. Rob James, multiple selection. There we go. There you go. The Multiple Revelation Project by Andy Gladwin and Rob James. It's quite old now, but it was huge. It came out when DVDs were a thing. 2 DVDs, and just incredible. So the Multiple Revelation Project by Rob James and Andy Gladwin. You go check out Vanishing Ink. You can probably get it from Vanishing Ink. That's really great. Also, Fireworks by Eldo Colombini, specifically the fireworks control, was a great way of doing multiple selections. Trying to think of other people. I think that's it. I think those are the ones that spring instantly to mind. I'm just going to put multiple selection. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, yeah. Big Blind Media put this out. I'm not really too sure what this is, but Big Blind Media put out a thing by Liam Montier, and he put out a special deck of cards called the MRD deck. Perform the multiple revelation routine with no sleight of hand. A self-working miracle. Comes with a special deck in bicycle stock. Have 3 to 15 members of your audience select cards, mix them up, return them to the deck, and without being controlled by you, you reveal the selections in order with no sleight of hand. So I'm sure I reviewed that years ago on the Wizard Product Review, but I can't remember for sure. But yeah, that's something else. I don't really know much about that. If you want a sleight of hand way of doing it with a regular deck, I'd go for Rob James and Andy Gladwin. But I have got something going up on the Netrix, which I think that you will probably like as well. Okay, so the next question is from Hungry and Hungover, who says, "Hey, Craig, I just got the Cheetah Index and I love it. Cool. My mind's been racing with ideas for it. What are your favourite tricks to do with an index?" I love a lot of the stuff that they did on decks by Javier Fuenmayor and Lloyd Barnes. They put some great stuff on there. They had some. I love the idea of using an index for something other than an index, and this is something that for something other than playing cards, and this is something that Javier kind of talked about on the decks tutorial, which I thought was genius. And he applied it to ED Seat, my routine ED Seat, because obviously, as you know, with ED Seat, their selection of an item from a receipt has a numerical value of 1 to 31. So he has in his index, he has envelopes, and he has them, each one has a prediction inside it that relates to an item that they could have chosen from ED Seat. And there's a bit more to it than that. You can go look at the tutorial if it's something that you're interested in. But the whole idea is, if you know New Deck Order, for example, or you know Mnemonica, you can very easily use an index in the same way. So, for example, let's say that you're doing ED Seat on somebody, and the numerical value that they've chosen is 20. Well, if you know Mnemonica, 20 is the Jack of Hearts. So now all you have to do is reach into your index and pull out what the Jack of Hearts would be, the position the Jack of Hearts would be, and you're pulling out an envelope with a prediction of the item that they thought of from a receipt. Now, it doesn't have to be EDC. I'm using that because it's my own trick and because Javier referenced that on the tutorial for decks, but it could be anything that has a numerical value, which a lot of binary systems do. And I think when you stop limiting yourself to playing cards and you start thinking outside of the box, oh my gosh, there's so much you can do. One thing that I've been playing around with, I've not actually made it up yet, but I'll tell you because maybe you can come up with something, is having 52 business cards. And if you know Friction Pen, using Friction Pen to put a load of marks on the business card. So you have a load of marks with Friction Pen, and then you put the card underneath legitimately with a matching regular pen. So in other words, when you take that business card out, let's say you've got the Ace of Clubs on there, AC, they see a load of ink all over the place, but when you take your lighter and you do that, it's going to change into Ace of Clubs. It's a classic revelation of a playing card using Friction Pen on a business card. Well, what you can do is you can, if you set up every single card in the deck on a business card and then draw ink over it and make sure the ink looks relatively the same on each card and then put that into an index, well, now you've got a miracle, because what you can do is you can go into your pocket and you can take out a blank business card and you can just draw all over it and make it look similar to what's in your pocket. You can then put it into your pocket and you can say, right, I've made my prediction. I know it looks crazy and it doesn't make any sense, but I've made my prediction. Name a card. And let's say they say the 7 of diamonds. Now you go in your index for the 7 of diamonds and it looks like you're bringing out the same business card. But realistically, this is ready to produce the 7 of diamonds. So now you say, well, you know, I drew all over it, and there you go, I predicted the 7 of diamonds. Oh, you don't believe me? You just got to look between the lines. Look, and now you light it, and as you do, all of the ink vanishes, and you're left with the ink that's formed into the 7 of diamonds. And that's a way of using an index, but with business cards, where you're not actually using playing cards. And I love that. I love the thought of doing that. I think that kind of makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with indexes. I am going to, at some point, do a hows and whys of an index. But it's something that's probably going to be more towards the end of the year. But, you know, there's a couple of ideas for you to run with. Okay, so the next question is from Happy Pancakes, who says, hi, Craig, Happy Pancakes here. Thanks for liking my name. You're more than welcome, dude. Makes me chuckle. Can you please do more videos on book reviews or recommended books? I know you always say that it's difficult because there's so much to read. And can you also do more videos on your EDC and Cabaret case? And also, are you going to do the creative process series again? That's a lot of questions. So, yes, I am doing the creative process series again. I will be doing season 2 of that coming very, very soon. 2, can you do more videos on your EDC and Cabaret case? Yes, that is something that's coming soon as well. And 3, can you do more videos on book reviews? Yeah, I'm planning on looking at some classic books as well. I want to kind of do a retro review series. It's something that me and Michael are planning at the moment, like a retro review, where we literally put out a video on a book that's been out for years and talk about why that book is so great. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. So I'm definitely doing that. And I'm always trying to add more books to the review pile. It does take a while, but I do them probably once every month. I like to make sure that I review things properly and I don't just pay them lip service. And then you've got one last question. You don't have to answer this because it's a bit private, but is there any way for somebody to reach you to get in touch? Yeah, the best thing to do is just to drop me an email, craig@magictv.org, CRAIG @magictv.org. That'll get through to me. Okay, so the next question is from David Blaine, who says, thanks for answering my questions. You're more than welcome. I do think Rattle dice are bigger than everyday dice. I really can't switch to another dice. I really can't switch to another dice trick or do a dice trick. Spectators will say, why is the other dice big? Well, just use the Rattle dice as a one-off thing, or buy dice that match the Rattle dice. The thing with the Rattle dice is they're designed to look like normal dice. If you go into like a D&D store or something like that and you bring the dice in and you show it them, they'll probably have dice that match that, no problem. Just find dice that match your Rattle dice and just use those, and that would probably work as well. I totally understand where you're coming from, but I don't think it's too much of an issue. Absolute worst case scenario, buy yourself like 3 rattle dice and just use the regular dice and switch out those regular dice afterwards if you want to go into some sort of other routine. But I think rattle dice is too good to not actually, kind of use on a regular basis, because it is really killer. Okay, so the next question is the Drunk Magic Ukulele Player, who says, "Hi Craig, hey, by the way, how you doing? I wonder if you could help me out. Quite a few years ago, I saw a presentation of an egg bag. I seem to remember it was a guy on stage with a girl sitting down. He performed it and he constantly exposed what he was doing to the audience while she was amazed. Do you know what this was? Do you know who this was?" No, I've never seen anyone expose. What you're talking about here is doing the egg bag a little bit like the slidini paper balls over the head. I've never seen anyone do that before. That's not a thing that I've ever seen. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, and I could see how it could work, but I've not seen anyone do it. And I think if somebody did do that in front of an audience and there were magicians there, I think magicians would get quite annoyed, because egg bag is a common prop that a lot of people use. So by exposing it to an audience, I don't think that would be very well received. The closest I've seen like that is Jackie Yu has a routine where he has a spectator hold a tray, and there's a net bag underneath the tray, and he's doing a sponge ball routine, and he's taking the ball and dropping one of them into the net as he apparently puts it into his hand. And the audience can see that they're going into a net bag underneath the table, but the spectator, from their point of view, they're just holding this tray. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, or if I don't know. That's the closest I can think of that's got anything to do with a bag and having stuff exposed to an audience. If it's not that, I really don't know. I'm very, very sorry. And you've got one last question. Have you ever watched dwarf boxing? If not, you should. It's absolutely hilarious. I've never watched dwarf boxing. I have, however, I'm a big wrestling fan. And from time to time, there's been midgets in wrestling. The most notable example is Hornswoggle, who's an incredible wrestler, actually. But no, I've never seen dwarf boxing. So there you go. It's not something I've ever seen. Okay, so the next question is from Stephen Rue, who says, "Hi Craig." Hey Stephen, I hope you're well. I'm very well. Are you as well? What do you think is trick of the year, and do you think you have the trick of the year? Thanks, Stephen Rue, South Africa. Well, whenever I talk about trick of the year and what is the trick of the year and what could be trick of the year, I always discount my own stuff. Because inevitably, if I do a list, and I did this for a long while, I did a list, and I would always put my own stuff at the top of the list. And people would say in the comments, "Oh, Craig is a narcissist, he's so egotistical because he always says his stuff's better than everyone else's." And the only reason that I do that is because I kind of do. Like, it would be very hypocritical of me to turn around and say, "I've just got this trick come out, please buy it from me. It's not as good as the other people that are bringing tricks out, but please buy it, it's good." It's I believe in myself and I believe in my products. It's a friend of mine, Brad Burton, motivational speaker, he says, always never have a plan B. Because if you have a plan B, it means you don't believe in your plan A. And if you don't believe in your plan A, nobody else should believe in that. Nobody else will believe in that plan A either. And I kind of have that philosophy in that I believe my stuff is amazing. And if it wasn't, I wouldn't bring it out. But because of that, I've always kind of discounted my own material. Tricks that could potentially be trick of the year. I think that Liquify has a chance, but I think a lot of people, I don't know. Liquify has a chance, but I don't know if it would make it. But Liquify is the thing. Stitch, again, has been very well received by a lot of people. So Stitch is something that a lot of people have really liked. I'm trying to think of all of the tricks. Stitch and Liquify are the two that spring instantly to mind right now as big tricks that a lot of people have raved about. And it has to be something that a lot of people have raved about as well. That's the key thing. I'm trying to think. I'm going through all of the penguin stuff. I'm trying to go through all of the Alex. Okay, Bricked. I know it's not released yet, but I know it will be released before the end of the year. Bricked by Drew Perry. I gave it Trick of the Year at the Blackpool Magic Convention. I very, 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 very possibly could see it being Trick of the Year. When it comes out, everyone's going to rave about that. We keep lists of everything that we review, so I should go back and look at those lists really and do a video on this. And what do I think is Trick of the Year? Those are the ones that kind of spring to mind right now for me as being Trick of the... Oh, Sticks. Sticks could do it, you know. Sticks by Eric Stevens has been very, very, very well received. I wouldn't be surprised if that was in the running. I talked about it earlier, but Rattle dice could potentially be in the running. I know a lot of people picked up Rattle dice at Blackpool. That could not Blackpool, at Magic Live. I wouldn't be surprised if that had an impact. Can't think of anything else really. If you're looking at my own stuff, I love everything I've ever bought out. So it'd be very difficult to decide. Magic Button came out this year. I think that Magic Button I wouldn't be surprised if that was in the running. I mean, the thing of mine that had the biggest impact on the community, I think, this year is Evoke, or potentially Mind Blocks. I think Evoke and Mind Blocks kind of changed the game when it came to marked decks. So I think both of those could be potentially seen as in the running. If I was going to talk about my own stuff, I've bought a few things out this year, but some of them aren't Trick of the Year. Like the Svengali Deck project isn't a Trick of the Year contender. It's a great, solid release, and it absolutely has a place in the industry. I don't think it would be a Trick of the Year candidate. Same with Destiny Deal. Destiny Deal is amazing. It's a great card revelation. I carry it around with me all the time. I'm looking at my regular, everyday carry deck right now, and it's got a Destiny Deal in the cellophane. But I don't think it's Trick of the Year. I've got a trick coming out before the end of the year with Alakazam and with Murphy's and with Penguin. I think the three biggest tricks that I'm bringing out this year are coming out in the next couple of months. With Alakazam, it's a thing called Eye Stretch. With Murphy's, it's a thing called Focus. And with Penguin, it's a thing called Cheetah. And I think all three of those could potentially be quite well, very, very well received. So I don't know. You never know. I honestly, last year, I kind of figured Demi Deck all the way through. I thought Demi Deck could have been the one, and a lot of people said that Demi Deck was the Trick of the Year, right? This year, I think it's up for the running. I think there's a lot of, I don't know, but I don't know. Bricked. I'm going to give it to Bricked. Okay, so the next question is from Adrian Suter, who says, your Destiny Deal video was fascinating. Thank you. I've never heard of Plastidip before. Are there other creators who use it? I think the possibilities must be endless. Yeah, a lot of people use Plastidip. I've used it in two projects. I've used it in Destiny Deal and I've used it in Superimposed. Used them both in different ways. David Jonathan uses Plastidip an awful lot. His Color Sync used elements of Plastidip along with a whole bunch of other stuff. A lot of creators use it. It's more versatile than Rough and Smooth. There's pros and cons, but it's more versatile than Rough and Smooth. I'm doing a Hows and Whys of Plastidip in the next month or two, and I'm going to talk about how to apply Plastidip, what you can use it for, and I'm going to teach a bunch of routines that you can use Plastidip for. So look out for that. I'm considering putting that up as my Christmas special, so everybody knows that on Christmas Day I tend to put up like a big tutorial special on something or other so that people can watch it on Christmas Day. And I'm thinking about doing that for this year's Christmas special. So look out for that. Okay, so the next question again is from Agent Suter, who says, "Hi, Craig. You were talking about Ryland's many interests apart from Magic. Does he participate in speedcubing competitions?" He wants to, and he's been to them, but he's not actually competed yet. He's working on his solve time. I don't think he's quick enough consistently to be in the running in a speedcubing competition. He's quick, but he's not quick enough. He's working on it. He's getting there, but he's not there yet. But he enjoys speedcubing. He enjoys getting better. His Go Cube is something he uses all the time, if you know that. But yeah, I think he would like to one day, but I think he needs to speed up a bit first. Okay, so the next question is from Michael Patterson. "Hi, Craig. Hope you and the family are well. Big fan of the channel." Thank you so much, Michael. I'm very well. I hope you are as well. My question: I recently dug out liquid forks again, but always had trouble with the twist move on the tutorial. I can't seem to figure out the correct way to do the move. Any tips? Thanks. I haven't got any liquid forks with me here at the moment, so I can't really go through that with you. But there is a video I'm doing of metal bending soon. I'm doing a metal bending video, and I will be including the twist move in that. The big piece of advice I'll give you is obviously make sure it's already bent, and then just grip it tightly by the prongs and do the twist as you unbend it. Do the twist as you unbend it, right? That's the key thing. I saw somebody who was struggling once and they were trying to bend it without having that initial bend in there. You need to have that thing bent first, and then the twist is put in as you unbend the fork. So as you unbend the fork, that's when the twist is being put in. And if you just practice it, and the key thing, I see a lot of people doing this wrong with liquid metal. The key thing is to make it look effortless. Every single bend that you're doing, it should look completely effortless. So when you unbend the fork, it should look like you're unbending the fork, not putting another bend in. So just practice it and you'll get there eventually. Okay, so the next question is from Vino Furtado, who says, "Please, can you tell us more about the Gaffed Deck?" Well, the Gaffed Deck is coming from me and Lloyd Barnes. And out of everything me and Lloyd are working on together, this is the thing that we're most excited about, to be perfectly honest. The Gaffed Deck is... So what is a Gaffed Deck? Well, a Gaffed Deck is a deck of cards where each individual card is designed to do something. You know, if you look back in the day, Illusionist had the market on Gaffed Deck for years. You know, they bought out so many Gaffed Decks with Justin Miller, Adam Wilbur, Eric Jones, Nate Cranzo, Kayla Morelli. The list went on and on and on, and they were the kind of the rock stars of the industry back in the day. And there were so many Gaffed decks that came out, and I think the last Gaffed deck that Illusionist did was created by Lloyd Barnes, and you haven't seen one for years and years and years. Some of the old Illusionist Gaffed decks you can still get hold of, and there's other Gaffed decks that have been created, and me and Lloyd very early on, about 2.5, 3 years ago, we said we wanted to do a Gaffed deck, and we wanted to make it the best Gaffed deck in the world. And what's really cool about it is me and Lloyd approach things in a completely different way. And if you've got the Infinity deck, you'll know that. So I tend to approach things from the point of view of, I want it to be as practical as possible, so no pipe dreams. While he approaches things from the point of view of somebody who's a hobbyist and performs socially for people, and so doesn't mind crazy, wacky methods, because ultimately reset and angles and examinability isn't really an issue for him. So having the two different styles come together to create a Gaffed deck is great, because he took... I basically was able to take his crazy ideas and make them more commercial. He was able to take my attitude of it only has to be commercial and expand on that, and basically take my creativity and his creativity in a direction that I never thought was going to be possible. And what we've been left with is a deck that we've spent almost 3 years working on, that's finished now. You know, we have to do the tutorial, but the actual design of the deck and the box and everything that goes with it is done. And there's so many routines that you can do with these cards. It's crazy good. It really is. If you can imagine that, like, I'll typically do, you know, a ton of routines with just one Gaffed card. Imagine giving me 56 Gaffed cards that I've designed along with Lloyd Barnes, and it'll tell you the expanse of this project. It's going to be huge. But I do very much love Gaffed decks. I've always wanted to have a Gaffed deck that I was involved with. You know, I remember back in the day seeing Justin Miller and people like that, you know, work with Illusionist on these Gaffed decks, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, if I could do that, that'd be great. And I couldn't understand why Murphys weren't doing one. And the fact that we've been able to not only convince them, but the support from Murphys has been brilliant. So yeah, I mean, that's what it is. I mean, there's 56 individual cards in there. There's some incredible magic. It would have been finished a few months ago, but they said we couldn't do 6 of the cards for a variety of different legal reasons. So we changed those 6 cards out, and now it's even better than it was before. And yeah, there's nothing else really to tell you. It's coming hopefully early next year. The tutorial's going to be massive because there's so many different routines. And it's me and Lloyd, and when you put this together on camera, we tend to talk a lot. But I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be... Lloyd is very excited about this because he loves Gaffed decks. And he's... You know, Lloyd is excited about something when he wants to do the tutorial himself. He doesn't want anyone else to film it. Filming the tutorial, not the actual tutorial. He doesn't want anyone else to film it. He doesn't want a videographer from Murphys to film it. He wants to do everything himself. He wants it to be the perfect project. So it's going to be very, very good. And all I can say is look out for it. It's coming soon. I'm excited. Okay, so the next question is from JRSonis451, who says, hello there, Craig. I was wondering if you'd heard of an online company based in the UK called Bark. If you have, do you think it would be worth using them to get gigs? Yeah, there's a lot of them like Bark. There's a lot of companies like that. Bark is just one of them. Basically, what they do is they normally have very good SEO, search engine optimization. They normally have very good PPC campaigns. And what they'll do is they will put themselves out there in a particular industry and try to generate as many leads as possible. And yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There's pros and cons of using any lead generation strategy. So when you're running a business, the most important thing about your business is that you generate leads. That's why I've always said on this channel over and over again, the most important thing is marketing. Because without marketing, there's no leads. Without leads, there's no sales. Without sales, there's no turnover. Without turnover, there's no profit. With no profit, there's no business. You've got nothing, right? So it all starts with marketing. And the single most important part of marketing is lead generation. And there's lots of lead generation strategy, lots of different ways that you can generate leads. Networking is a valid way of generating leads. Social media is a great way of generating leads. PPC or pay-per-click, Google AdWords is a great way of generating leads. SEO is a great way of generating leads. These online platforms like Bark are a great way of generating leads. And every single way of generating leads has pros and cons, and you have to decide what's best for you based on the situation that your business is in at that particular moment. So, for example, SEO is a great way to generate leads. That's search engine optimization, trying to make it so you appear on page 1 organically. It's kind of like the holy grail when it comes to marketers. If you can appear on page 1 organically for the search terms that you consider to be the best search terms in your region or your industry, well, that's amazing, right? That's the holy grail. And it's possible with search engine optimization. The negative is it's a long-term thing. You can't snap your fingers and have that happen overnight. It takes time. It takes effort, it takes energy to be able to get there. And either you have to pay a company a lot of money or you have to spend a lot of time and effort doing it yourself. And even then, regardless of which way you go, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a year of hard work. And then you have to carry on putting the same amount of effort in, else you're going to slip right down the rankings. But it's a great way of generating leads. Pay-per-click is a great way of generating leads. The problem is it can be quite expensive to create a dent in that sort of search area, because the problem with pay-per-click is there's people that are setting the price of their bids and you're competing against other people, and you can end up spending a lot of money to generate very few leads, right? And then you have to understand how to use Google AdWords, or again, you have to use a company that does understand Google AdWords. Neither any of these things change on a minute-by-minute basis. So with that in mind, Bark, there's pros and cons. So the pro is you will see a lot of inquiries. If you sign up for Bark, you'll see a lot of inquiries. And also Bark is a really good platform that will integrate via Zapier into lots of other platforms. So if you're using a CRM, for example, you can have it so that when you quote somebody on Bark, you can use something like Zapier to instantly have that inquiry come through into your CRM software, so you can pitch them by email almost straight away. There's a lot of advantages for using Bark. You're going to see a lot of inquiries come through, and you can pick the ones that you want to send them a pitch to, right? So what's the negative? Well, the negative is you're competing against a lot of other people as well. Bark attracts companies and attracts entertainers that maybe haven't got a solid marketing strategy, because it's an easy way to get a lead. Oh, hang on a minute, all I have to do is go on Bark and I have to spend a few credits and I can get that lead, and then I can inquire and I can speak to them. The problem with that is that it will attract, as I say, a lot of other entertainers that are doing the same thing. And normally those entertainers maybe are new, or maybe they're inexperienced at marketing, and a lot of them will quote on a cheaper rate. So now, let's say I'm looking for a wedding magician. So I go onto Bark and I type in, I'm looking for a wedding magician in this region. That inquiry will be shown to hundreds. Anyone who's signed up to Bark will see that inquiry has come through. Now I can choose to pay for it if I want to, and if I do, I can email them or phone them, or I can get in touch with them. But so can anyone else that chooses to pay for it. So if that person's put their phone number in there, now they're going to be inundated. Let's say 20 people pay to get that lead, because you can't do anything with the lead unless you pay for it by credits. So now you've got 20 people who've, from their point of view, spent money on getting that lead. So now what they want to do is they want to get a return on their investment, so they're ringing that person up. Imagine there's somebody that's looking for a magician for their wedding, and now they're getting inundated with phone calls from like 20 magicians. They'll be like, oh my God, I only wanted to get some quotes. I'm not even ready to book yet. And it can get very stressful for the client. It also means that it's kind of, in some ways, not all the time, but it can be a race to the bottom, because unless you're very, very cheap, there's always probably somebody that's going to come in cheaper than you. And because they're getting all of these inquiries, it's like, well, hang on a minute, why should somebody book you over somebody that they haven't booked, right? What is the reason for that? So you either have to make yourself stand out and make yourself look absolutely amazing, or if you don't stand out and make yourself look absolutely amazing, you're going to be competing on cost. And in order to get a return on your investment, your price is going to have to be lower. So you have to work out a way of pitching people and really putting across your value, so they understand that even if you're more expensive, there's a reason why they should book you over other people. Now, as a company, we've not really used Bark that much. We've used platforms like this, but not really much. But we've dabbled with it. And earlier this year, we dabbled with it a little bit more, but it's never been sort of something that Bark has never worked for us very well, really. But yeah, I mean, if you were going to use it, plus point, you're going to get lots of inquiries, and you can just pick and choose the ones that you want to apply for. Negative is you really have to work hard on your social proof and your assets to stand out, because if you don't stand out, they're going to book somebody else. So, for example, I'll give you a real example. This wasn't through Bark, but this was through something similar to Bark. So we advertise on a platform similar to Bark, and somebody was wanting a trade show magician to go to a trade show for 3 days and go and perform for 3 days. And I don't do trade shows that much these days, but it happened to fall in the 3-day period where I could do it. So we quoted, and I'll be upfront. I'll tell you. Well, I quoted £2,000 plus VAT for about a 5-hour session per day, plus travel and accommodation expenses and so on and so forth. And we went back and forth with the clients, and they booked it. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic, really great, all in the book. And then she phoned me a couple of days ago and said, we've just had another quote through the same platform, and this person quoted £500, and they're not VAT registered, and they're doing all day from sort of 9 till 6. how come you're so much more expensive? And I had to have the conversation with them as to why we were more expensive and why specifically having me there and why I had to have that conversation and kind of almost resell myself, which I did, and they carried on using us and they understood. But that's a perfect example of underpricing, if that kind of makes sense. You're going to have a race to the bottom, so you have to really stand out on Bark in order to get the bookings, because if you don't, there's going to be somebody that's cheaper than you, and if you are competing on price, you're never going to win. Okay, the next question is from Michael Warsham, who says, Craig, thanks, looking forward to your Magic Scott Talent video that you mentioned. Yes, I'm in the middle of doing that right now. Another video special you should seriously consider doing is Comedy Magic. You could cover comedy magicians like Cody Fisher, Nick DeFante, Bill Malone, and the marketed routines they perform that are available to the Magic community, pointing out that some of their material can be blue. Good idea. I might do a UK versus USA type thing, because Comedy Magic in the UK and Comedy Magic in the US is very, very different, and I think it'd be really worthwhile exploring those differences. But yeah, I want to do more on Comedy Magic, so thanks for the thanks for the advice. Okay, so the next question is from Standard. Hello, Andreas. I hope you're well, my friend. Great week as always. So amazing content. My question for this week is about the Blockhead, which obviously isn't a new effect and has been done by selected magicians who've gained fame with it, and it worked out for them. Now, you're working on leveling up Matt for this effect, hoping it'll do the same for him. Aren't you afraid that two factors hugely diminish it's now a commercial trick that everyone can download for just a handful of coins? Even the community discusses this quite controversial. Even if the community discusses that this is quite controversial, and B, the fact that you make Matt learn it may encourage people, and not only magicians, to make this kind of public domain effect that will be performed by artists all over the world, included but not limited to street performers who will be bringing this to the awareness of everybody in the general population. What do you think? Okay, good question. So basically you're saying that is Blockhead worth learning because it's now a commercial trick that everyone can get, and therefore like it loses its appeal, and as it goes into public domain, it's going to be performed by everybody. That's the same concern that you'd have with any trick. It's like any trick, absolutely any trick. Any trick that comes out, you could argue that, like, oh, why should I learn that trick? Because other people can buy it and other people can learn it. So why would I want to put that into my show and make it part of my act because other people are doing it? And I think if you worry about that, you're never going to add anything into your act. I think the key thing is trying to find stuff that fits your character and then putting it into your show and seeing what the reaction's like. So I understand what you're saying. Just because the trick's available, though, here's the thing: I don't think hardly anyone's ever gonna learn Blockhead. Alakazam and Mark Spellman may have put out Block, which teaches Mark's approach to Blockhead, but I think that most people, even with Matt doing this, aren't going to want to do it. They're just really not. I think it's not something that, because there's a lot of places you couldn't do this. You couldn't do this at a kid's party. You couldn't do this at a wedding. I'd even doubt being able to do this at a corporate. I think there's certain places where you could do this. On stage, I think you could do this. And I think with your a lot of people haven't got the performing character to pull this off. So I think that even though it's now released as a download, it's always been available. There's tutorials online and there's videos online of people doing Blockhead, but it still doesn't make any difference. That you do it for the first time, people are going to freak out. They really are. And Matt learn it will encourage other people to do. I think you're overestimating the reach of Magic TV, to be perfectly honest. I wish that we had that sort of influencer level ability on this channel, but the bottom line is we've got 21,000 subscribers, and the videos of Matt normally get about 500, 600, 700 views. I don't think him doing Block or Blockhead on a video on Magic TV is going to have that much of an impact on other street magicians or street performers. I think if a street performer wanted to do Blockhead, they would have done it before the blockumentary came out. I don't think us putting it online would influence people to do it or not do it in one way or another. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but I genuinely do think that this is perfect for Matt. I really do. And yes, I get a kick out of seeing him squirm, learning how to do it, but I genuinely think that it's something that I think would work really well for his act. I really do. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if he pull, and he might not even learn it. Like, I know he's scared to death of learning Blockhead. We might get to the point at the end of this documentary where he just fails miserably and doesn't do it. We'll see. But you know, if he does do it, we'll see how popular it becomes by other people. But I don't think it's too much of an issue. Okay, so next question is from Comedy King, who says, "Hey Craig, I was at the Scottish Conjurers Association this month, and Tom Stone, Paul Wilson, Tom Crosby, and Chris Congreve were there, and it was amazing. But I missed Tom Stone and Paul Wilson because they lectured on the Sunday, and I was only there on the Saturday. But my question is, have you seen Tom Stone and Paul Wilson lecture before?" Yes, many times. I've seen Tom Stone lecture multiple times. Paul Wilson less so, but I've still seen him lecture a couple of times. I've been backstage with Tom Stone. Tom has been on the bill with Ryland a couple of times on various different gala shows. I think most recently was the Magic Circle Convention gala show where Ryland and Tom Stone were on the gala show together. And Paul Wilson, man, I'll never forget the first lecture I ever did, or one of the very first lectures I ever did, was in Scotland. And I walked out, I was so nervous. And it was a big event up in Scotland, and I was the first lecturer on. And I walked out, and I looked down at the front row, and I was doing a lecture on coin magic. And there, sitting in the front row, was Paul Wilson. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I doing a lecture when you've got Paul Wilson there as a punter, just sitting there? Like, that's ridiculous. So I genuinely thought that. But yeah, I've seen Paul Wilson. Paul Wilson is one of my favourite magicians of all time. Tom Stone is one of my favourite magicians of all time. Do me a favour, Tom Stone has the funniest routine you'll ever see with boxing gloves, and he teaches how to do a paddle move with your arm. I'm not kidding. I'm not going to say anything else. You just need to go and check it out. It's hilarious. Okay, so the next question is from Caleb D'Amico, who says, "Hey Craig, hope you're doing well. I really want to invest in the Nightshade coin set at some point, but I was wondering if you might know of a time when it would be on sale, maybe a Christmas sale." I typically don't think that those things get reduced because they constantly sell. I'm pretty sure that they don't really get discounted. Your best bet is a Black Friday sale, because Alakazam, I know, do Black Friday sales. So you might want to consider thinking about a Black Friday sale. But honestly, they typically don't discount down the Elite coin range because they're constantly selling as people come into Magic and they want to learn about coin magic. They gravitate towards the Elite coin range. So they typically don't get reduced, and the costs on them are so high. But really, it's a question for Alakazam, not for me, because I don't even sell them. Alakazam do. I think they're the only place that does sell them. So go check with Alakazam. I think they're the ones that can help you with that. But I would say if any time would be a good safe bet, it would be Black Friday. Okay, so the next question is from I Am Sting, who says, "Hi Craig, thanks for all your contributions to the Magic community. You're more than welcome. I know you like Adam Wilbur and Vulpine Creations. Just now, I got a mail from Vulpine telling me about them closing down. Now, I have a two-part question. Firstly, do you have any insights into why they decided to close down after such a short time? And secondly, what is your opinion about them closing the company? Have a great day and send my greetings to Rye. Can't wait for the next episode of the Ryementary, coming soon. And Matt, I've always loved the Matchumentary and the 2.5. I can't wait for the next episode." Awesome, man, stuff. Thanks, Sting. Right, okay, so two questions, which were insights into why they closed down. Yeah, so look, here's the thing, and I'll probably do a video on this at some point, but there are more and more people setting up production companies than ever before. I had a conversation with Matt about this, actually, recently. We were on the way to a gig, and the subject of production companies and Magic came up. And I've known for a while, I've known for several months that Vulpine were closing their doors. The decision was made months ago, and I knew about that decision, I don't know, it must have been about 5 or 6 months ago. And here's the reason. Here's the Here's the reason. So many production companies open up these days. And the reason why so many production companies open up is because people genuinely think it's an easy way to make money. Because they kind of think of it and they kind of go, right, okay, well, I can produce a trick and then I can sell it, and I've got a decent name in Magic, so people will buy stuff from me. And then I can sell stuff to Murphys as well, and they can buy stuff in, and I'll get a check from Murphys, and I can just keep releasing. It's going to be a license to print money. Now, I think a lot of people think that and set up production companies, and a lot of really small production companies open up all of the time and then end up struggling or going out of business. And I think one of the reasons is, and I'm not saying this is the case with Vulpine at all, but I know this is the case with a lot of smaller production companies. One of the reasons is they forget that a production company is a business. And there are a lot of production companies. There are a lot of people producing magic and selling it to Murphy. There's a lot of people producing magic and self-publishing magic or setting up a production company. And it happens all of the time. And I think that people don't realize how much the costs are to develop a business like that. Because Vulpine, for example, you had two people running Vulpine. You had Adam Wilbur and you had Felix, Adam's business partner. And in order to make that company a success, well, you've got to spend a lot of time and effort on it. Forget about bringing out the tricks, right? Forget about bringing out the tricks. Just making that company well known. Talking about branding, marketing, digital marketing. It's very hard to get your name out there consistently. I know that Vulpine, when they first started, and this is what a lot of people do. They start doing something, they don't see the results, and they stop. So that's what Vulpine did. They started putting YouTube videos out. And actually, a couple of years ago on Magic TV, I said that their YouTube channel was one of the best YouTube channels I'd seen because they were doing so much innovative stuff. But then after 6 months' time, they stopped putting YouTube videos out. And I remember asking Adam at the time, why have you stopped doing YouTube? And he's like, well, we only get like 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 views. For the amount of time and effort that has to go into it, it's not worth it. Because here's the thing, when you're running a production company, there's so much that you need to do. You need to be constantly coming up with new tricks. You have to be prototyping the tricks. You have to be signing artists, and you have to be doing all of this, and then creating the packaging and creating the trick and getting it out there and creating the trailer and creating buzz. There's a lot to do. Right? And then it's got to have costs associated with it. So it's not cheap. And doing all of that and also raising the awareness of the company just isn't going to work. You know, if you've got like one or two people trying to do everything, it's not going to work. So, for example, I love Lord Harry Harrington. I think he's an amazing guy. And he's got his production company, A Pocketful of Miracles. And he has put out 2 or 3 tricks now by various different people. I've just reviewed Hung, Drawn and Quartered and gave that a decent review. He's had another couple of tricks come out. But it's almost impossible for Harry to get A Pocketful of Miracles to have a really big appeal. He's working on his own. There's only so much that Harry can do on his own, right? There's only so much he can do. And he's got to produce. He's constantly... Because here's the thing, with a production company... It's like any business, right? You've got income and you've got expenditure and then you've got profit. So the whole idea is to maximize the amount of money that's coming into the company, reduce the expenditure, and what's left is profit. And then you pay yourself out of the profit, right? So you're going to have a big lump sum to start with, because how are you going to like prototype these tricks and get the packaging and, you know, everything like that. So you... So here's the thing. So what happens is you produce a trick and you know, let's say the trick goes really well. So you produce a trick, you then sell it and lots of people buy it. So you have the money coming in. So you spent this much money, but now you've got this much has come in, and then you've sold it to Murphy's maybe, and you've had a bit more money come in. But now nothing's coming in because the shelf life of a trick is 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. That's it. And then people are on to another trick and another trick. So when you release a trick, you've got like 2 or 3 weeks to make a lot of money from that trick. And if you don't make that money in 2 or 3 weeks, then the rest of it's just going to trickle in over time, and you're not going to make a decent amount of income. And don't forget, this is a business. You need that income coming in to pay your wages, to pay whatever it is that expenses that you need to run your... So a lot of people are literally setting up production companies, and they're doing it on a trick-by-trick basis. I'm going to release this trick. I've got this money. Now I'm going to use this money to invest in the next trick, and in the next trick, and in the next trick. And they end up not being able to pay themselves and not be able to pay themselves a wage, because all of the money they've made from the first trick, they're investing in the second trick. And then they're taking all of that money from the second trick and they're investing it into a third trick. And so they're not actually making any money for themselves, because all they're doing is they're just treading water. And that happens with a lot of these production companies. And then what happens if one of those tricks doesn't sell as well? Which can happen. You never know if you've got a hit or not on your hands. That, like, I point to my Lucky Lotto. I thought Lucky Lotto was going to be amazing. It's my least selling trick out of everything I've bought out. And I say it still did well, but by my standards, it didn't do anywhere near as well. And you never know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. Well, if you're working on a trick-by-trick basis and then one trick doesn't hit, so you haven't got that big influx of money, how are you going to pay for the next trick and the next trick? So how you make it work is by doing what Alakazam do and Penguin do, for example, which is bringing out tricks all of the time. But, Alakazam will have a new trick coming out every single week. Penguin will have 2 tricks coming out every single week. Now, different tricks appeal to different people. Not everybody's going to buy everything that comes out from Alakazam or everything that comes out from Penguin. But then what happens is you've got that influx of money coming in all the time. And Penguin and Alakazam are both magic shops as well. So they've got retail sales that are coming in. And it's really important when you're running a business that you're constantly having money coming into the company, because if you haven't, then you're going to have cash flow problems. And when you have cash flow problems, well, then what are you going to do? You can't pay your wages, you can't pay for the next product, you can't pay for the packaging for the next product, so everything holds up. Now, you couple that with the fact that a lot of these production companies that open up out of nowhere, they try to do something different. Like, I love the 1914. I do. I've been on 2 shoots with them. They're fantastic. And their big thing is their production quality is through the roof. Last time I did a shoot with the 1914, they had 4 people there. Jack was doing directing with an iPad. You had somebody on a boom mic. You had 2 cameras. You had a smoke machine that hired this big venue out to record all of this stuff. The expenses for all of that is astronomical. And then when you've got this much footage, the editing is going to be astronomical. And yes, it's good to have high production quality, but that just puts the costs up and up and up. And when the costs go up, the expenses, the profit goes down. So the key thing is to make a good product and keep the expenses as low as possible. But a lot of people go in the other direction. And then you talk about a particular trick. If you add one thing to a trick, it can cost a fortune. Like, let's say, for example, you're producing 1,000 of this item, and you have an idea that if you include a paperclip with that item, you could do another 3 tricks. So you go, okay, well, I'm going to include a paperclip. Well, you might end up having to pay $500 just to get enough paper clips to include one for every single trick, because you've added that one extra thing. Well, that's a lot of money that you're not going to be able to increase the price of the trick for. The price is going to have to remain the same, but now you've added on an extra bunch of expense to keep it at the same level. That's why a lot of tricks that come out, they'll go, oh, if you want to do this, then buy yourself this and include it. It's for that reason. But a lot of people that set up production companies, they don't understand the business of running a business. They set up a production company, they've got an idea for 4 or 5 tricks, they release the 4 or 5 tricks, they do well, they get some money come in, and then then we're not even talking about VAT. Let's not even start talking about VAT. My VAT bill is astronomical. Then you've got corporation tax, then you've got all of this other stuff. And I'm guessing, I don't know the reason, but I think that Vulpine probably ended up not being able to pay themselves much money. And Adam and Felix probably got sick to death of it. Adam is a very successful magician that can command very high fees going out and performing at corporate gigs around the country. He was probably sitting there thinking, well, you know what? I could go out and I could make way more money just by going out and doing some gigs. I know that's why World Magic Shop closed down. World Magic Shop was massive when I used to work for them. They had the biggest unit you could imagine. They had 4 or 5 members of staff. They had, it was big. It was probably one of the biggest magic shops in the country at the time. And then one day it all went away. Why did it go away? Well, probably one of the reasons is because when you're running a company like that, you're bringing out trick after trick after trick. Dave Penn probably looked at it and went, well, I'm putting all of my time and effort into this, and I'm making almost no money from it. Whilst if I went and did a gig, I'd probably make more money by doing that gig. That's why I walked away from Magic. One of the reasons I walked away from Magic is I was spending all of my time on the Wizard product review, 3 days a week filming the Wizard product review, dicking around with stuff like that, and I was making no money in my business because I had no time to run the business. I stepped away and my business became more successful overnight because I could put all of my effort into running my business. I think that's really what it is, to be honest, Sting. I think the reason is, I don't know, I haven't spoken to Felix or Adam about this, but I've got a feeling that the business just wasn't, well, put it this way, if it was successful, they wouldn't have closed down. If they were making money hand over fist, they wouldn't have closed down. I think Adam and Felix both realised they could make more money doing other stuff and work massively less hard. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Okay, so the next question is from Andy Putt, who says, can you do a review on Reverse Logic by Joshua J? When I saw Joshua's Harvard performance, I directly loved this and mailed Vanishing Ink if they were planning on releasing it. Now it's released and it costs $100, which is a lot of money. I'm not saying it's expensive because they can ask what they want for it, but $100 is $100. So before I spend that kind of money, I want to know what more seasoned magicians think of it. This is also the reason why I decided back when his Trojan deck came out not to buy it. Yeah, look, I've got it in my rucksack over there. I bought it. It's in my rucksack. I'm planning on looking at it this week. I'm very interested in it as well, especially as I have a routine kind of similar to that. Different, but similar. And I'm very, very interested in it. It is a lot of money, and you are right that Josh can charge what he wants to. Absolutely fine. He's one of the best magicians in the world. It's like Scott Alexander. People criticize Scott Alexander for charging a lot of money for a trick, but, he knew what his tricks were worth and he priced them accordingly. Same as Josh. But obviously, when you put it out there, one of the things that reviewers are going to look at is if it's got value for money, if it's worth the price that is being asked for. And the answer is I don't know because I haven't seen it. But yes, I will be doing a review on Reverse Logic, and that will be coming very, very soon. Okay, so the next question is, again, from Andy Putt, who says, what's the best resources for learning PK Touch? I'm going to put that on hold, if you don't mind me asking, purely because I've got a video coming out soon on PK Touch, and I'm going to be talking all about different PK Touch routines that you can do and the pros and the cons of each one, and that's something that I've already started filming. So I'm not going to talk about it too much now, other than my favorite close-up PK Touch routine uses loops, and you can and it's a Colin Cloud routine, and he taught it on the latest Yiga Masika loops project. So if you want a PK Touch routine that's amazing that you can do close-up, use loops. Regarding anything else, keep watching the Magic TV because there's a video coming up soon about it. Okay, so one more question off Andy Putt, who says, do you know some things Magic companies are going to do with Black Friday? You work for everyone and their mother, so maybe you can spill some juice about Black Friday. Keep doing the good work. I know that the last conversation I had with Peter Nardi, he was talking about Black Friday and he had some big stuff in mind. I think he's going to bring out a couple of big releases for Black Friday. So that's Alakazam. Penguin, I think every single year for the last few years have had the best Black Friday deals. I think their Black Friday deals are amazing. And I always spend way too much money on Penguin because their Black Friday stuff is killer. In terms of what they're doing, I know that every year on Black Friday they bring out a whole bunch of new tricks. And as far as I'm aware, they're bringing out one more trick of mine. So I've had 5 Penguin tricks come out this year. I've got one more that's coming out this year, and I believe it's coming on Black Friday, and it's the one that internally I believe Penguin are most excited about. Out of everything that I've bought out with Penguin so far, including Shop, including Keymaster, Destiny Deal, Magic Button, Superimpose, Mind Blocks, Level Up, the list goes on and on. Out of everything I've ever bought out, this is the one that I think they're the most excited about, and I believe it's coming out on Black Friday. I think that they've also got some insane, ridiculous deals, so you want to look out for those. But yeah, Penguin are going to try and dominate. They take Black Friday very seriously. Now, I don't really work for Vanishing Ink, but I know that their Black Friday deals are really good, and I know that they said last year that they were hoping this year to bring out Notion in Motion by Angelo Carbone. Now, I don't know if that's still happening. I don't know if they've hit a hitch or not with that. But if they were planning on bringing out Notion in Motion by Angelo Carbone, the smart money is saying that they would do it at Black Friday. If they're not, I don't know what they're going to bring out, but it'll probably be something really, really good. Last year, there'll definitely be a book set that everybody's really excited about. There's probably going to be something else. I don't know, but Vanishing Ink take it very seriously as well. Murphy's don't really care too much about Black Friday. They put some deals on for dealers, but because they're not a retail outfit, their releases aren't coinciding with Black Friday dates. But Alakazam, Vanishing Ink, and Penguin Magic, they'll definitely be taking Black Friday very seriously. Okay, so the next question from Andy Putt says, 3 weeks ago I saw you on a Zoom call performing and answering questions, and it was really great. Thank you, man. Somebody had a question and you gave your phone number because you said you are not very good with Messenger. I can confirm because I experienced it, no hard feelings. Can I send you a message on WhatsApp instead of Messenger? I ask because I don't want to bother you because you are a busy guy. Look, here's the thing, and I'm going to say this to everybody. I am not good at any sort of written message communication. And I'll tell you for why. You are right, I'm really busy. Like, I've been on the sales desk all day today. I've filmed 4 videos. I've been up since 6 o'clock. I'm constantly juggling like a million things. People always say, how does Craig have time to do so much? The reason I have time to do so much is because I'm very strict with my time. Now, literally, when I come off this call now, when I've spent like the best part of an hour and a half answering questions, when I finish this, I will switch on my phone. I'll have about 10 Facebook messages. I'll have loads of WhatsApps. I'll have loads of text messages, and I will try to answer them all. But it was genuinely a full-time job. If I go through every single message and I answer every single message, the last time I tried to do that, I'd had my phone switched off. I switched it on after about 4 or 5 hours, and I spent 3 hours replying to people's questions and messages, and then they were replying back to me, and so I had to reply back to them. I just haven't got time. So here's how you get hold of me. Phone me, okay? I don't have voicemail on my phone, but phone me. Give me a call. I will always answer the phone. The only time I don't answer is if I'm in the sales desk covering somebody. Matt's ill today, so I'm covering him in the sales office. If I'm in the sales desk and I'm on a phone call, in which case I'll get back to you as soon as I've got off the phone, or if I'm in a meeting, or if I'm in a gig. If I'm doing any of those 3 things, I will see your missed call and I will call you back. But I'm not great at Messenger. It's hit and run. It's 50-50. You're better off going through WhatsApp. You've got more of a chance of getting me at WhatsApp. Facebook Messenger, I cannot check for days. WhatsApp is the best option. But if you want to absolutely have the best chance to get a hold of me, just give me a call. Because I'm best, and also I don't like texting. That's the other thing. I'm really crap at it. I don't like texting. So kind of, I get like after about, even if I spend an hour or so trying to answer messages, I'll get to message number 10 and I'm like, oh, fuck this. I'll just call them. So just call me. The best way to get hold of me is to just call me. Okay, so the next question is from Divishan Magician, who says, I want to join my Northampton local club, but I'm worried I won't fit in as literally everyone there is 30 plus adults. Unlike in the YMC, there's no people my age. I feel it may not be as great as being in the YMC. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are, join. Yeah, the YMC meets once a month. Northampton are going to meet weekly or fortnightly. You're going to get more lecturers coming in. You're going to be around more experienced magicians. And just because they're 30 plus adults, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, that means they've got more experience. Now, I've talked on this channel before. If somebody tells you what you should do, you want to take it with a pinch of salt, and you want to only take that advice if you think it's useful advice. But the bottom line is, you are the sum of the people that you surround yourself with. So you want to be around as many magicians as possible. The amount of stuff I've learned from being in magic clubs with other magicians are immeasurable. You absolutely want to hang out with as many of these magicians as you can. I would definitely join the Northampton Circle or whatever it is that you're wanting to join. I'd definitely join. You're only going to be able to go to the YMC once a month. Like Ryland's gigging this month, he's going to miss it. He's probably going to miss next month, which means that he's probably not going to be able to go to another YMC meeting till next year. Right? So if you miss 1 month, you miss a lot of, you miss a lot of time connecting with other magicians. So yeah, absolutely you should join, if only for the lectures and for the networking opportunities. There's going to be somebody there that really likes you and gives you some advice that's going to change the way you perform. You might even meet somebody there who'll give you gigs and you can pass gigs back and forth with them, but you're not going to know if you don't turn up. Don't prejudge. Don't judge a book by its cover. Just because they're 30 plus adults doesn't mean that they can't help you, nor does it mean that they don't want to help you. Okay, so the next question is from Magic Elliot, who says, "Hi Craig, thanks again for all you do. You're more than welcome. My question this week is about moments of strange, as Paul Harris calls them. Can you give some examples or sources for moments which use magic methods that aren't framed as magic tricks? Just odd moments that make the spectator do a double take." Elliot, I think that's an amazing idea. I think it's brilliant. And if it's okay with you, I'm going to do it as a separate video, because that is something that I don't want to just pluck out my brain and go, how about this? That's such a great idea. I want to use that for a future video and talk about the 10 best moments of strange. I think that would be a brilliant idea for a video. So thank you so much. And with your permission, I'm going to do it a little bit, later on as part of a big video. Okay, so the next question is from Trick Hustlers ENT, who says, "I was watching Daryl's 3-fly video and he suggested doing figure 8 motions with a wet stone to smooth the coins out and minimize the talking. Do you have any experience with this? I'm using Eisenhower dollars and the scraping is really loud." Yeah, look, here's the thing. I've never seen wet stones or anything like that. That's why coin workers that spend a lot of time doing coin magic use silver coins, piece dollars, Morgan dollars, Barber halves, Walking Liberties, silver 1964s, because when you're using a silver coin, there is less talking. There's virtually no talking. Whilst with something like an Eisenhower dollar, which is not a silver dollar, you are going to get a lot of talking, and there's very little that you can do to minimize that. Most coin workers that take their coin magic seriously will use silver dollars. You can actually find them really cheaply on, if you look on coin websites, and you go into, a lot of the time, if you go into like coin shops, you'll find them very reasonably priced. Or you can buy them directly from magic shops and so on and so forth. But if I were you, I would go, and if this is a concern for yours, I would go and look into getting some silver dollars, work with some piece dollars, work with some Morgan dollars. That would be the best way to eliminate pretty much all of the talking that you're experiencing right now. Okay, so the next question is from Michael Sager, who says, "Hi Craig, I'm looking at magic stores and I keep coming across interesting books and DVDs of magic. I'm curious if you'd still recommend DVDs, older books in an age where most downloads are products. If yes, what DVDs or books do you think would be best for someone looking to find something new?" Books are still brilliant, and you can still get lots and lots of books. I still say the best way to learn coin magic is with David Roth's Expert Coin Technique. The best way to learn card magic is with Card College by Roberto Jobbi. The best way to, the best way to learn comedy magic is to get Bill Malone's DVDs. It just is. So yeah, DVDs and books are still as good now as ever before. What I'll do is I'll put together a list of the best books of all time and the best DVDs of all time, and I'll put that together as a future video. I think that would be a really good video, so that, because some DVDs are now available as downloads, some aren't, and some books are just no longer in print, and I wouldn't want to suggest something that people just can't get. So I'll have a think on it, and I'll do a video in the next couple of weeks. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, books and DVDs are still as valid now as they ever have been. Okay, so the next question is from Justin Hutchins, who says, "Hi Craig, could you please tell us what you think are the best holiday-themed magic tricks? Thanks." Yeah, I'm going to do I did a video about 3 years ago on Christmas themed magic tricks that I had actually created, and I put it up for a very short time and then took it down, but I'm putting it back up again this year. So look out for that. That's going up, and it'll be, you know, on YouTube for everyone to look at. But in terms of best holiday themed magic tricks, I'm very, very biased, but I'm assuming we're talking about Christmas here. Elf by me and Alakazam is something I perform every Christmas. And Christmas cards that I bought out last year is something I perform every Christmas. Snowway Man from Alakazam is something I perform every Christmas. I've got another Christmas themed magic trick that's coming out this year as well. I love Christmas. I'm trying to be to Christmas with Alakazam what Jamie Dawes is to Halloween with Alakazam. You want Halloween tricks, you get a Jamie Dawes trick. It just is. You want Christmas themed tricks, I want it to be me that you go to. So I've got another Christmas themed trick this year. It's the third one in a row. And I think people are going to really like it. But yeah, I would say my three favourite Christmas themed tricks are Snowway Man, Elf, and Christmas cards. But I have got that video going up on YouTube soon, and that's going to teach people a bunch of other stuff that I like doing as well. But yeah, those are the ones that I'd probably suggest the most. Okay, so there you go. That's another Q&A in the bag. Once again, thank you very much, guys, for commenting and asking questions. If I missed any of your questions, I think I might have missed a couple. I've had a bit of an issue this week in that for some reason when I went to film this video, YouTube comments wouldn't load. I don't know why. So Michael screen captured them off his phone and has given them me as screen captures that I'm looking at on my laptop. So I might have missed a couple. And if I have, I'm very sorry. If I have missed a question, please ask it again down below, and I promise I'll get to it next week. But I'm going through all of these screen captures, and it's been a little bit more tricky to do because normally I just read them straight off YouTube. So I'm sorry if I've missed your question, but hopefully that helps. Now, you want to see more videos like this? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be back next Sunday with another Q&A. I'm also back tonight with a review show special on Easy Tones. So make sure you look out for that. That's Rich Relish's new trick. Talking about Rich Relish, he was on Talk Magic yesterday talking all about Easy Tones and his creativity. So make sure you look out for that. I'm going to be back again very, very soon. If you haven't already done so, please go check out the Netrix. It's www.thenetrix.com. It's my online streaming platform, and it is open right now, and there are hundreds of tricks on there. Thank you once again for joining me. I will see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.